Mayor Garcia has officially announced his re-election bid for the mayor of Holyoke.
Understand from the community if whether or not we're moving in the direction they want their city to go.
Securing funding from traffic safety programs, investing over $10 million in public building upgrades and parks, as well as a $200 million secured for new school construction and renovations, and also a future clean energy factory coming to Holyoke. Which
Key headliner, it's time for Holyoke.
Esta es la primera entrevista del segmento Hablando Claro con Montana, el antifeca. Yo y mi equipo de trabajo, tengo que mirar la cámara, a mala mía. Okay. Yo y mi equipo de trabajo decidimos en hacer un segmento, ¿verdad?, en que podemos informar a nuestra gente, a nuestra comunidad. Yo creo que tenemos una responsabilidad, como la plataforma de nosotros, usar para cosas que beneficien a nuestra ciudad. Yo decidí, y nuestro equipo de trabajo, hacer esta entrevista en español por esa razón, porque nosotros sentimos que la persona que llega de Puerto Rico se desconecta cuando llega a los Estados Unidos, no solamente boricuas, sino latinos que no saben hablar inglés. Cuando llegan aquí se desconecta de lo que están pasando en la ciudad. Y no hay una plataforma que le explique a ellos en español en cómo, qué es lo que está pasando. Por eso decidimos Antifeca Media Group hacer este segmento y decidí llamar a mi hermano, a mi bro, mi pana, el alcalde del pueblo, Joshua Garcia. Bueno, Joshua, saluda a tu gente.
What's up, everybody?
En español, ¿cómo se dice eso en español?
¿Cómo se dice en español?
Saludos, mi gente.
Saludos, mi gente. Estamos aquí, we outside. I gotta know something, though, man.
Dime, Joshua.
I got scared.
¿Te asustaste?
Because the coffee here is really good.
Tremendo café.
The food here is amazing.
Uh-huh.
And one day I stopped by for lunch to get my coffee and my food, and there was a big seizure sign on your... What's up?
Pues Joshua, mira, ¿cómo te explico? El negocio, yo ahora mismo me puedo sentar aquí a mirar la cámara. Yo me puedo sentar aquí en la cámara y meterte miles de excusas. Y puedo justificarme, decir, mira, que fue por culpa de esto, mira, que yo puedo hacer miles de excusas, pero en verdad es que yo no pagué mis taxes. Y yo no pagué mis taxes. El negocio de small business, el que lo ve de afuera se cree que uno estaba, pero eso es tough business, ¿me entiendes?
Yeah.
Nuestro negocio, Fiesta Café, a lot of small business, cuando vino el COVID, we hit hard. Mucha gente, como Boston Market and State Street, fue out of business. Gente con nombre, Olive Garden, a lot of business se fueron out of business, ¿no entiendes? Small business like us, that's all we got. I mean, nosotros tenemos que hacer lo imposible y movernos. Esos fueron tasas del 2023 que I was dragging, es un ripple effect.
Yeah.
Y nada, lo resolvimos, gracias a Dios. Yo pienso, yo soy un hombre que tengo una fe en Dios y desde que mi mamá falleció, ha crecido más. I've been strong, I've been más, I pray more, y less anger. You know what I'm saying? Y yo siento que Dios trabaja en forma misteriosa, mano, y ahora mismo yo estoy en una mejor posición de la que yo estaba cuando me pasó lo que pasó. ¿Me entiendes? Pero esta entrevista es a ti, no para mí. Vamos a entrevistar.
But I just want to let you know,
Okay.
this is important.
Dime.
And I appreciate that, and it's very inspiring to know, like, you came through some hardship, post-COVID, even through COVID, post-COVID, you got a little behind. Mm-hmm. And when we get behind, there are consequences, but I appreciate how you've been able to, like, get through it. And I think it's inspiring for a lot of other small businesses out there, people, mom and pops, trying to survive, trying to do the right thing.
It's hard.
And you stuck with it, got through it, and still here. And I'm sure it's still hard to this day.
Absolutely. Pero it gets better in that community. You know what I mean? A veces yo siento que bad things have to happen so community gets together. I mean, like when something happened in the flag, it's sad that something happened, pero Holyoke gets together and you see it. So I feel like community came together, like, yo, they were supporting me. My sales went up. So everything, you know.
Because you're a Holyoker.
I am a Holyoker, but for life. And I'm telling you, I will always be a Holyoker.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
You got it, man.
Gracias por venir, porque es verdad, yo tiene una agenda bien ocupada. Yo se está postulando otra vez como alcalde, con una de las preguntas. Y tiene una agenda bien ocupada. Y tú ves que ya lo verás, yo te voy a dar un par de tacitas de café.
I always got time for you, no problem.
Gracias, bro, de corazón. Mira, vamos a empezar con la primera pregunta para enfocarnos en en Joshua Garcia.
Okay.
¿Por qué decidió postularse de nuevo como alcalde de Holyoke?
Well, first you need to understand, right? This is the community that I was born and raised in.
Entonces naciste,
Yeah,
creciste
right in South
Holyoke.
Holyoke. Went to the Holyoke
En
public
South Holyoke.
schools. You know, raising my family here, bought a home here, and I learned a lot in my career about how to manage, do community development, how to manage municipal resources, and you know, I ran, we won. That's a long story short.
Yeah.
And why I'm deciding to run again, I think that we can continue to do the important work that we started. Not that I started, that we started as a community. And so that I can continue to contribute to the community that took care of me growing up. And I want to do that back in return. I want to take care of my community, just like they took care of me.
So, ¿tú estudiaste para política?
Yeah, I guess you can say that. I got my bachelor's degree. And then I got my master's degree in public administration. So, you know, can you align that with learning politics? Sure. But I think the most important thing is to understand, you know, that the education is focused on how to be a good manager.
Ya. Porque él explica que coger con la ciudad como
Y lo
un
siento, el
manager,
español mío no está
No,
bien. So
no,
I wish I can...
no, pero yo voy a poner las palabritas para que la gente entienda en
gotta
español. Pero siempre va... entonces, tú hablas lo más español que pueda, pero siempre le metes el spanglish en inglés para que la gente entienda.
There's a lot of us, you know, I was born and raised here, but my mother is from Puerto Rico, and, you know, a lot of kids like me that grow up here in the States, we lose our Spanish.
Los hijos míos son así. Mis hijos.
But I understand it perfectly.
Ajá. Es que mi hijo es así.
90%.
El hijo mío es 100% boricua y el hijo mío no habla un pío en español. Pero entiende, porque se crió con nosotros en español, pero él se crió en el sistema educativo de Estados Unidos. Solo lo que habla es inglés, pero eso no lo hace menos ni inglés boricua que nadie, ¿no entiendes? El boricua está en la sangre.
That's right.
Sigue.
I'm not
Es
ashamed.
más, date una
I'm not ashamed of. I embrace who I am. I appreciate.
¿Tú eres un boricua? ¿Tú eres un boricua de Holyoke, esa Holyoke?
Un boricua.
El alcalde del pueblo.
El alcalde del pueblo.
Eso.
You're too much, man.
Como el primer alcalde de puertorriqueño de la ciudad, ¿qué ha influido su origen en su trabajo?
So, representation is important.
Uh-huh.
You know, across the board, whether if, you know, the different demographics that exist, if it's culture, if it's our experiences growing up in neighborhoods, you know, having some form of connection with the community that you're serving is critical. And, you know, and although I am of Puerto Rican descent, I am a Holyoker that grew up downtown, that benefited from a lot of the services that exist for kids like me and families like mine. And so it gives me a unique perspective in how to approach the social issues that are happening in our community, because I'm I'm part of that. And the community we're talking about, the fabric we're talking about, the social fabric, is largely Puerto Rican descent. And so, you know, when you are able to connect at that level with the people that we're serving, right, there's a special, meaningful connection for the community to the mayor as the leader. And the same holds true for other, you know, we're a very diverse city. Yep. You know, we have another large population, the Irish community, who has had representation for a long time. And,
también están conectados,
and they take a lot of pride too, and that's important. And hopefully one day I'd love to see a mayor that represents a different culture in our community. But it's important that whoever the mayor is, whatever background, that they embrace the cultures and bring people together. Because if we're not united, then we're not going to be able to grow our community.
Para el que nos está escuchando no sabe, Holyoke es la ciudad en Massachusetts donde más hay boricua hay by capital. So nosotros en todo Estados Unidos, donde más puertorriqueños hay es en Holyoke, Massachusetts.
Per capita.
By capital, ¿verdad?
More Puerto Ricans living in Holyoke than anywhere else in the world outside of the island of Puerto Rico, but it's per capita.
Per capita, ¿verdad? No, que por tantas personas que hay, nosotros, Holyoke, what is it, like 56, how many, what's the population of
I
Holyoke?
think, well, we're about 38,000 people, and
Yeah.
we're 54% Latino, Hispanic.
So the population is 38,000.
38,000, about 38,000 total, yeah.
So, de esos 38,000, nosotros somos más de la mitad.
There's
50.
54% Hispanic. I don't know what the percentage is from that number to be Puerto Rican, because remember, we got Colombians,
Sí.
tenemos colombianos, también
Son
tenemos...
Sí, de todos, dominicanos, hay diferentes, son latinos, hondureños, hay en latino overall.
But we have a strong density population of Puerto Ricans living here, you know, per capita.
Entonces, no solamente eso, acabamos de hacer la Main Street como el distrito puertorriqueño, que es el segundo, el primero es en Chicago, si no me equivoco, ¿verdad? El segundo acá en la Main Street. Entonces, la otra mayoría de población son Irish, y los Irish y los puertorriqueños tienen una conexión en historia, que hicieron un dibujo, ¿verdad? Con el gorila que está aguantando la bola de voleibol.
We have a very special, the Puerto Rican population in world history, we have a very special relationship with the Irish community, which, by the way, this Saturday, I'm going to Ireland
Yo quiero ir para allá.
because I'm the Grand Marshal of the parade in Ireland at our sister city over there.
Yo quiero ir para allá, pero Uncle Sam took all my money.
Well, so what I'm saying is like, so world history, right? Like, so Ireland and Puerto Rico both were, you know, island nations that were oppressed and conquered by another country.
Como colonia,
Colonized. And until this day, Puerto Rico is still fighting a good fight.
Yeah.
But at the time, the president in Ireland, Pedro
Albizu
Campos,
he helped write the...
he was consulted with to help write the Irish Constitution.
So we got a connection.
And even further than that, during the potato famine in Ireland, when people were fleeing the country because of the disease, a lot of Irish folks were being turned away from the United States ports and found shelter in the island of Puerto Rico. So the Puerto Rican population, the Puerto Rican community in Puerto Rico welcomed the Irish immigrants, and a lot of them settled there and grew their families there. And so here we are now. Fast forward to today, they reached out to me. I formed a special relationship with the mayor of Trolley, which is our sister city over there. When he came down and visited us, and he called me, and they asked me to be the Grand Marshal of their St. Patrick's Day parade.
So you're gonna be the man over there. That's fire.
Yeah. So we have a special relationship, and you know, here in Holyoke, the city of Holyoke's history is a microcosm of United States history. And world history. And so, you know, we got a special town here and relationships with our community.
Y no solamente eso, mi gente, que tenemos, como yo te explico, que estábamos conectados con los Irish desde la historia en Puerto Rico. Aquí también se inventó el voleibol.
Yeah.
Nosotros también se inventó el básquet, porque papi, la Springfield le vamos a jonquear, papi, nosotros inventamos el básquet también.
No, I don't want to get in trouble by myself. I love my Springfield people.
No, los Springfield son mi gente, pero la data es la data, el tipo era de Holyoke, papi, y eso lo vamos a hablar más aparte. Nosotros, mi gente de Springfield.
Yeah, so I don't know if people know, right, what Juan is talking about, and you know, I was able to dig into some of the artifacts that we have here that say that we can sit here and confidently say that the sport of basketball was actually not invented here, but it was inspired here in Holyoke. And what happened was...
That's a trash can story?
Well, so this guy, his name was Dr. Gabler. I don't know. He was a Holyoke guy. Actually, a very kind and good Holyoke. He did a lot for the community. I was reading up on him. Very interesting man. Was friends with Naismith, who was the inventor of basketball. He invited Naismith to come to the Holyoke YMCA to watch a group of men play a concept sport. Naismith was a football coach, and he was looking for an activity to engage his football players for off-season. To keep them moving and playing and working together and things like that. So Gabler said, hey, come check out this activity they play at the Holyoke YMCA. It's like a concept. And the concept was a group of men volleying ball into a peach basket. One peach basket. So in the Naismith that same year, it was January of whatever, went back to Springfield. He took the bottom of the peach basket off. He took 2 of them and put it at both ends of the court. He created the rules for the game. And by December of that same year, basketball was invented. So basketball was born in Springfield. He gets all the credit for actually coming up with the game rules, the game, but he was inspired by a game of Holyoke. And I almost feel like we can say that basketball and volleyball was almost birthed together because it was a concept. You volleying a ball into a peach basket. And so he went back to Springfield and said, hey, what if we took the bottom out? What if we put it in both sides of the court? What if we dribbled the ball? He came up with all these different ideas. So it's pretty unique relationship.
That's a nice story. About
I'm sorry, I wish I could say all that in Spanish, but you know.
Eso lo vamos a poner en el translator abajo. Mi gente la va a entender, lo vamos. ¿En qué pregunta me perdí? Eso estaba bien interesante, Georgia, me gustó en verdad. No, la tercera no, yo pasé a la tercera, sí. Ok, so,
Or number 2.
¿cuáles considera sus mayores logros en temas como economía, seguridad y educación?
So,
Sus mayores logros, que tú sabes que en educación hicimos esto, en seguridad, en economía.
I want to say the most thing that I'm very proud about that is very important is that we were able to work with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to regain local control of the Holyoke Public Schools. And I know it's a little bit complicated, but I'll try to simplify it the best as possible. The city of Holyoke was in state receivership for a very long. The public school system was in control of the state. Think of.
Sí, vamos a explicarle para mi gente. Mira,
think of the control board of the island of Puerto Rico, right? Like that might be a lot bigger, but you know, public resources are controlled through locally elected politics. So in Holyoke, we got an elected school board that would control the decisions of the district. That power was taken away by the state because the schools 10 years ago weren't doing very well. There were some concerns at the state level about what we were doing locally to manage our school district.
So le quitaron el poder a la gente local y dijeron, papi, ¿sabe qué? El Estado que va a coger el control ahora, usted no sabe lo que están haciendo.
The state took control and gave the power to one commissioner who wasn't from here. So that's the
¿Y cuánto tiempo estuvo? So,
that was like 10, I want to say 10 years now.
So tuvieron 10 años que le dijeron, antes tenía un board que tomaba decisiones, que el pueblo lo elegía. Le dijeron, ¿tú sabes qué? Eso no va a existir más nada. Fulano que va a coger el Estado, fulano que va a coger la escuela y ya, right? Eso es basic para que ellos entiendan. Y tuvieron así 10 años una persona tomando decisiones y ahora se la dieron otra vez a la ciudad.
So, right. So we were able to work with the state to, and this is a much complicated, longer story. Again, to keep it simplified, we came in, we had a new governor, and we were able to work out a situation where we regain, starting July 1, we will once again have control to the voters here in the city of Holyoke of the fate of the Holyoke Public Schools.
Por gente coja para el board de la educación.
And that's a big deal because, again, we go back to what it means to self-govern, right? To relate it to the island of Puerto Rico, it's the one thing, I think that's the big debate right now, the politics, whether or not we should be controlled by the United States or should we be our own country and control our own fate. In a local level, when it comes to the Holyoke Public Schools, should we be under the rule and control of the state of Massachusetts, or should the city of Holyoke be able to control and make the decisions for ourselves? And self-governing ourselves is so important for, you know, it's the democratic republic. It's the values that we try to fight for since we started as a country, as a nation. So, and we fight for that very values for everybody around the world. At least, you know, we used to, but that's
coger el control de las escuelas.
Another conversation.
Y en seguridad, cuestión de seguridad.
So the question about security?
No, de esa misma.
The public safety of the city?
No, ¿cuáles tú consideras tus mayores logros? Y en educación dijiste coger las escuelas para atrás. En cuestión de seguridad.
Yeah, and that's like I said, that's important, and we'll go into public safety, but sticking with education, we also invested a lot of money into the public school building and environment itself. I think, obviously we want schools to look and feel good for our people that got to work in them, and for our kids that got to spend a lot of hours and learn in them. We're building a new middle school.
Peck Middle School.
Peck, you
¿Cuándo abre
remember
eso?
Peck? It's going to open this year. It should be done by August.
So, para agosto tenemos una escuela nueva. ¿Eso es el middle school?
But you remember how Peck used to be? It was
Sí,
like
redonda.
it was a crime against humanity.
Pero eso la tumbaron toda, una escuela nueva,
We
¿verdad?
knocked it down. We got
¿Cuántos
rid of
millones
it.
se fueron ahí?
What was it, like a $60 million project, more or less. A lot of it is so between building a new middle school and what we invested in current existing schools, I feel good about the investments we're making to modernize and offer a better learning environment for our
¿Y
kids.
las otras escuelas, las van a arreglar o no?
That's what I'm telling you. So that's what we've been doing.
Arreglando las otras.
Over $200 million invested in our public schools, and that includes building the new middle school.
¿Y cuánto se fue la nueva?
When does it open?
No, how much you spend just in the middle school?
Well, so we've invested about $200 million in total.
Total.
Oh, in the middle,
school, yeah.
The PEC?
Yeah.
That's I want to say like 60, 70 million. I can be high.
So, le metieron 70 millones a la escuela nueva y como 130 millones a las otras escuelas de Hollywood. Eso es duro.
So public safety. Public safety, when people think about what it means to feel safe in the community, everybody automatically thinks cops, policing. And that's an important component, an important function. But you got to think of public safety more comprehensively, right? Like what is it that's causing people to engage in crime? So now you're talking about, activities, services. No, but I'm saying is that when people think of neighborhood safety, you feel like, but there are other people that don't. You gotta think of the community, right? Like I feel safe there's a lot of people that feel safe in Hollywood, but believe it or not, there are people that don't necessarily feel safe for whatever reasons that might exist. And that's what I'm telling you, that the reasons vary across the board. So whether if it's, why is it that people engaged in criminal activity, right? Like those are the social things that we need to work on. Services, youth programs, activities, keeping kids off the street, right? So they can grow up to be good human beings. Then there's, blight, right? Abandoned buildings, trash, graffiti, overgrowth, things of that nature. And so the way we've been tackling it is not only have we been building up our and doing better practices, policing practices out of the police department, we've also invested in our Board of Health, our building department, and our legal department to go after basic things, right? Like, remember when you were a kid and your mom used to tell you, you need to go clean your room, right? Like you got to make your bed. It doesn't matter how nice the furniture is. You got to make the bed. You got to hang up your clothes, the basics. We've been doing basic enforcement, right? Through the Flex Squad initiative on the weekends, holding landlords accountable, trash, illegal dumping, overflowing dumpster. That stuff attracts blight and crime. So that's the basics that we've been doing. Another exciting program we're about to roll out, we're about to announce soon, is, out of the police department for years, they've been doing outreach work for helping people that are struggling with addiction, people that are unhoused, struggling with homelessness on our streets. We're evolving that, and we're creating what we're calling the Community Response Division. So that team, that plainclothes, non-traditional policing, is working together in one room with BHN, CHD, people that help with behavioral health issues. We're also replicating the AISS program in Springfield to help people that are integrating back into their community once they come out of prison. So they're going to be working in the same space. And we're also trying to create a new position, some sort of community response coordinator, that it will be available to respond to basic issues, right? Like the goal is to like avoid displacement. If it's a landlord issue, if it's an individual not feeling safe in a neighborhood because what might be happening across the street, whatever the quality of life issue is, this community response division is going to be ready to help offer support so that people feel safe and feel like they're acknowledged and heard and taken care of in our community.
Eso es duro.
So it's comprehensive. You got to think about it in a bigger lens so that the boats rise together. But you know, then there's basic investments, right? We've invested in technology for local PD, ShotSpotter system, the camera system, the cameras working together with the ShotSpotter system. We're able to better respond. And more often than ever, we're able to avoid completely than before issues become issues. And that's the goal across the board is how does government work more proactively to avoid issues from happening rather than reacting? So government has always been reactive. The issue happens, we respond. But we don't want the issue to happen to begin with.
How do we prevent it?
So how do we prevent it? Exactly. What's the prevention? And that's where we've been focused a lot on is prevention. We respond good. And when we respond, that's a different kind of help. But how as a community can we better help people that are struggling? Because at the end of the day, like people that are, you know, everyone is a victim one way or another of something. And if we can, as a community, understand what those challenges are that are creating these problems, then we can prevent them. Then now we're creating better communities and safer neighborhoods for everybody. You know what I mean?
Hablando de la juventud, educación, había un proyecto, pero antes del proyecto, yo me recuerdo cuando usted ganó, una de las prioridades era trabajar en la juventud, ¿verdad? Y yo siento que aquí no hay nada por la juventud. Y el señor César Ruiz presentó un proyecto del Sport Complex, que tiene todo el mundo happy. Yo hice hasta un podcast hablando del Sport Complex. ¿Cómo va eso? ¿Eso va en pie?
Well, let me first correct something though, because you know, you had said que no hay nada para la juventud.
Para la juventud.
There's actually a lot for our kids. There could always be more, right? Like,
pero cuando yo digo eso, en el
No,
sentido del Sport Complex.
well, I want to talk about the sports complex. This is such an incredible. The sport.
Otra gente tiene Sport Complex. Who else got Sport Complex around here?
No. This isn't one of those. This sports complex is going to be much more comprehensive than smaller sports complex that we see in other communities. What we're trying to do is something that's a little bit more game-changing. That's going to make this region, never mind Holyoke, the region of here in Western Mass and the Pioneer Valley, compete with larger cities like Hartford, right? Because remember, if you look at the geographic, Hartford's only, 30 minutes away?
Yeah.
It's a bigger city. Boston, right? Like Boston is a bit, you know, they got, for all those tournaments and, you know, all those basketball tournaments, volleyball tournament, people, these are people that travel from everywhere to go and compete. And like, this is so that we can like play in that arena, you know?
Yeah.
But before we get into the sports complex, we have a lot for kids. And I hear that all the time. It frustrates me when people, and this is not just even before me, because even me growing up in the city, there was always something for me to do. And
Holyoke Boys Club.
And it's
for
not,
me,
that's
for me,
not,
for me, that's what kept me out of the street.
I was a Boys and Girls Club kid, but Boys and Girls is not the only game in town, though.
Who?
But Boys and Girls was a great organization.
Yes.
Right?
But they stuck in those time. They stuck in the time that when I came here. If I go to the Holyoke Boys Club, it's the same thing. I mean, I feel like
I haven't been in there recently.
Well, I haven't.
Actually,
I haven't.
I feel like
they still have the pool downstairs.
They still got
got boxing.
That they don't have.
We'll work in the front.
So the debate here, when we were growing up, our experiences at the Boys and Girls was a special experience. So we're kind of biased. Like the experiences we got, I feel like was better than what probably kids. But, you know, we were in a different time. If you go in there today, You got to see the things they got. It's different. You would never recognize it. It's the whole interior is redone.
Oh, yeah.
The gym, it's on the programs. They're doing more. They expanded.
I think.
But it's not just the Boys and Girls Club. The YMCA, they got a new director there that I think has been doing game changing.
When I was raising up, we couldn't afford YMCA.
Right.
We were five kids.
Right.
My mom had 5 kids.
YMCA.
The Holyoke Boys Club was $1 each. And sometimes we struggled to get $1.
I remember that.
You know
I remember that, yeah.
And they still, the guy there, Jose, like, let us go through. You know what I mean?
I get it.
But when I say it's not only Holyoke, I'm telling you, that's why I asked you, who else got a sport club? You said, no, nobody has a big league. And I agree with that. Nobody has it because I don't feel like, yo siento como que no le invierten a la juventud. Yo me recuerdo cuando las cámaras de Telemundo, mira que tú sientes necesitas para Holyoke. Holyoke hay que invertirle a la juventud. Y hay que invertirle más dinero porque, como tú dices, el problema es que antes de parar el problema hay que parar el problema, ¿verdad? So, si los nenes, ¿qué es lo que hay? No tienen nada que hacer, ¿qué van a hacer? A fumar marihuana, irse para allá para janguear con los amigos, vender droga.
Right.
They try to do, no tienen nada que hacer. Pero si le tenemos un sport complex, que ellos vayan para allá, ¿sabes? Aquí hay muchos deportistas. Aquí en el Holyoke Boys Club,
that's what I mean.
Tyson. Holyoke tiene uno de los mejores boxeadores más duros. Los tienen los Holyoke Boys Club.
Well, that's the one thing. If we can only bring that, and if
La
we
pelea para atrás, Holyoke Boys Club.
if we bring the sports complex, it'll have the capacity to bring back boxing potentially.
Hoteles, todas esas cosas. Mira, para mí, logro de la ciudad, y esto no es, no yo soy Garcia, mi logro sería para esta ciudad que ese Sport Complex se dé. Es una necesidad para no solamente para nuestra juventud. Yo estoy viejo ya, yo me voy incluso a la cancha y estoy fatigado. Pero la juventud de nosotros, especialmente nos inventó el voleibol, donde influenció que se inventara el básquet. Holyoke, Massachusetts, donde más puertorriqueños hay by capital, donde
Birthplace of volleyball.
El birthplace of volleyball. Somos una ciudad bella. Necesitamos eso.
The sports complex is going to be game changing. It'll definitely add, and I don't want to lose sight of the idea of talking about our Holyoke youth, because let me tell you, okay, so we're talking about Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, Girls Inc. Those are the large organization. The large organization has been around for a very long time. You have a new group called Palante that do youth engagement activities for youth. Then we have an incredible network of youth sports here. And the playgrounds and the available open space that we have for kids to be able to engage in sports. We have people from other cities that come to Holyoke to play in our parks and to play in our youth sports programs because it doesn't exist in their town. These are all, and there's so much more. So there are activities we could do more. And I think that the sports complex is going to be anchor. It's going to be like the anchor institution that's going to like support all of that and more.
Yo creo que el Sport Complex también debería, o no sé cómo, la ciudad, mi opinión, debería ser Holyoke. Yo veo que no hay cancha bajo techo. En Puerto Rico, por más que nosotros no tenemos cancha bajo techo, ¿entiendes? Yo siento que aquí...
We have one now.
La cancha, ¿cuál?
You didn't see the one over at Sullivan School?
No, where? We got a bajo techo cancha?
Yeah, Sullivan School.
Ah, yo tengo que ir para allá.
Anthony Soto built that
allá
thing.
Arriba para Jarvis.
Yeah.
I don't have it.
It's the first. I get people message me all the time like, "Oh my God, I only see this in Puerto Rico."
Hay que promocionar eso.
Just like in Puerto Rico, man, it's a basketball court with just like you see it over there.
Pues mira eso.
Anthony Soto, the superintendent of the schools, he got that
que
built.
También es por boricua.
But that's what I'm telling you is we've invested a lot in ours, because now that we're going to become 2 middle schools, we had to turn an elementary school into a middle school. And there was this feeling, half the kids are going to go to this brand new school and the other half are going to go to this old school. Well, it's like updating an old house. You can make an old house look beautiful. Yeah. So we've been doing a lot of investments trying to like make Sullivan School be a destination. That and they have the dual immersion program, which this is for people that are in Puerto Rico watching and are looking to migrate to Holyoke. The dual immersion program is another unique program that we have in this city where classes are being taught and you're learning in Spanish. So you got mixed kids that speak English and kids that speak Spanish. You're not segregated. When we were growing up, we were segregated.
Eso con los bilingües.
The bilinguals.
Los bilingües esto. Y después lo llamaban los linguis.
Los
Los
linguis.
linguis.
Yeah, that's so bad. I can't believe we used to say
Pero nosotros nos dejaban, nosotros los bilingües nos dejaban.
That was bad.
Sí. Nosotros los que cocoteaban. No, I don't understand, pero ¿qué bajo? Bim, bam, bim, bam.
But listen, like, it was a form of segregation. There was good intention, but we didn't think about the consequence. But now it's dual immersion. So kids that don't speak English, kids that don't speak Spanish, like they're learning together, and the instructions is all in Spanish, and you kind of grow with it. So it's a really, really good, unique program that doesn't really we learn from the city of Worcester. Once we learned that model, we replicated it over here in Holyoke. And it's been the one thing that people actually have been moving into. So, you know, how do we get people to come to Holyoke to say, hey, I want to put my kids in the Holyoke Public Schools? That's the one program where people have been intentionally saying, I want my kid in that dual immersion program. Even white people. It's like, oh, what, dual immersion? I want my kid to learn Spanish. Putting their kids into Holyoke Public Schools.
Yeah, because
so that's Sullivan School.
That's dope.
And other schools that we have. But the sports complex, new home of the Volleyball Hall of Fame. Oof. So, you know, you got this global sport. I think it's like the third most played sport in the world. More than basketball. In the world, though. Maybe not in the United States, but in the world. I think this is going to be game changing. It's going to not just, again, for the kids, for our community, it's going to expand our tax base. It's going to help with economic development. It'll help bring in tourism. It'll help. There's just so many benefits that I think is going to be like key for the city of Holyoke.
Vamos a tener el primer puertorriqueño porque Jimmy Camacho va a meter a Ricky Gaiman para allá. Jimmy Camacho, papi, el primer puertorriqueño, el primer puertorriqueño en el Volleyball Hall of Fame por primera vez, gracias a Jimmy Camacho, vamos a tener a Ricky Gaiman. Si
Jimmy is working hard.
Yeah, he's working real hard.
Working hard.
Me manda como 40 inbox al día. Me para Jimmy Camacho,
hey,
saludos a
the
los
sports complex, though, you know who's actually leading that? A Puerto Rican.
Yeah, Puerto Rican, yeah, César Ruiz.
César Ruiz.
Hacho, sí, duro.
Shout out to Caesar.
Tremenda persona, tremendo ser humano, en verdad. Él me dio una lección a mí. Me dijo, mira, Juan.
He recently bought the White Cough.
Yeah. Y también lo que va a hacer allá en Macy me dijo, Juan, Dios primero, familia, y el gesto.
Yeah.
Y me dio un libro, me dio un libro que se llamaba The Science of Getting Rich. Yeah. And that book really helped me. When I was going through my situation, it really helped me. The book really helped me. So, saludo a César Ruiz, tremendo ser humano.
Thank you, Caesar.
Joshua, ¿cuál ha sido el reto más grande que enfrentó en su primer mandato y cómo lo manejó?
I want to say... So first of all, when you are the mayor of any community, particularly a community like Holyoke, it's like your face is in front of a fire hydrant, right? All this water is just a lot. There's a lot everywhere. Not a problem. I feel like I built enough skills in my career to be able to manage it accordingly, right? For what it is. And it's difficult. It's complex, but nothing that I feel like I can't handle. But the one thing that really shook me, that made me feel like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? This is crazy. Was when we had that incident on the PVTA bus, that shooting incident, and the pregnant woman lost her unborn child. The baby in her belly caught the bullet in his little heart. That was the first time I actually got scared. Like coming into that, I go into that office. Let me tell you, the problems are big. Everything that comes my way, big, but no problem. We deal with it. That's what it is. It's local government stuff. We're here. We get elected. We manage our resources. We plan. We prioritize. Issues happen. You work on it. You move forward. Right. This happened. I was like, what?
El alcalde del pueblo. You got it's emotional, no se pone, porque a última hora una criatura, you know, it's sad. I mean, pero el image no es como que, mira, un tipo fue y mató fue un accidente que pasó, no es, yo siento que Holyoke ahora mismo está en una mejor posición cuando estaba en los años, cuando yo estaba racing, you know what I mean? I was racing Holyoke, por eso digo, yo hacía el momento safe, Porque yo
You
camino
couldn't
por-
go into neighborhoods.
No es lo mismo cuando usted estaba en high school.
No,
Even further.
No, yo voy más atrás que Joshua. Yo tengo 45. So, yo vengo para los tiempos, papi,
Look,
que
it was bad. You couldn't even go into if you didn't live in a neighborhood,
yeah.
you couldn't go into that
O los
neighborhood.
colores. Aquí yo vi gente que fallecieron por tener gente que vinieron de Puerto Rico, ¿verdad? Inocentemente no saben, se pusieron un codo amarillo y negro y lo apuñalaron y murieron.
Yeah.
Eso pasó. Porque no sabían que no, que aquí tú no puedes ponerte ese color, te quitaban. Holyoke era tan chiquito y con tantas gangas que Holyoke estaba bien malo antes. Holyoke ahora mismo es un paraíso. Y creo que ese estigma, y es lo que yo he tratado de trabajar desde que abrí mi negocio, porque cuando yo abrí mi negocio yo invitaba a gente para acá y me decían, Holyoke, tú eres loco. Y ahora no quieren salir de aquí, ahora está el problema, mira,
No, it's day and night, different.
las cosas han cambiado para bien. Yo creo que Holyoke es para bien y ha cambiado.
And then we're in an urban city. Like we got urban city problems, that are not unique to any other city everywhere in the United States, But either way, like when I was even how abandoned buildings, they weren't properly. I used to play hide and go seek in abandoned buildings. Now they're properly boarded up, right? There used to be a lot of illegal dumping. Alleyways used to have piles of trash when I was a kid, like these backflips on mattresses and stuff. You don't see that today. I mean, you see the trash and whatever, but you don't see the things that we used to see. You
I kind of wanted to leave the mattress back, yo. That's my shit. Poner como 3 matres y hacer un maniobra para el frente.
I couldn't do that. That's how I learned how to do front flips. I couldn't do the backflip. I tried. I
to do
failed.
the gainer y después la public pool, y para allá a practicar, no hacer los backflips en la piscina. A me encanta Holyoke. Holyoke is a beautiful city, and I can keep on talking about all the good stuff. Y siempre me gusta la plataforma usarla para promocionar lo bueno de Holyoke, porque lo malo pasa en todos lados. Como eso que pasó con el Civic, eso fue una desgracia. And it's sad, you know what I mean? But a lot of stuff happens, you know what I mean, everywhere, you know what I mean? It's a sad situation, but I feel like as a city as a whole, man, city come together when it's that sad. Even the mayor, you came, you visited her to the hospital, you know what I mean? La gente no sabe eso, pero el alcalde fue allá hasta el hospital a visitarla, mira cómo está, somos una comunidad y
I
creo
didn't
que...
just visit. Like she became family. Like when that happened, the first thing I did was I left the office and I went straight over there. It's again, this is another long story. I bumped into her boyfriend in the lobby, and then just relationship built after that, and the rest is history. But that shook me, man, to the core. I couldn't believe it. I can't imagine. No, you should be able to ride a public bus, right, and not have to worry about. That's
And the baby, the situation, the baby.
it's just pure tragedy, and
it was sad.
and I got shook.
Sad situation for Holyoke. Cuando gane la reelección, fíjate que dije cuando gane, porque nosotros estamos hablando con certeza. ¿Qué cambios o mejoras traerá en su nuevo periodo?
Well, so I think the first thing we need to do, Juan, is we need to continue the commitments that we already started. We have a lot of projects that are in motion, and we need to continue to cultivate and facilitate and get them to the finish line. Like, for example, you heard me talk about what I call the High-End Maple project. Full reconstruction to improve mobility safety in our downtown. Street sidewalks, intersections, protected bike lanes, rain gardens, and landscapes. It's going to be our downtown facelift. Actually, I just left the meeting recently. We want to do the same thing for Main Street.
Should have been there.
You should have been there because it affects your business.
Yeah.
We also got the race Cabot all the way down to Willimantic Bridge. So there's some investments right now being planned for to do some infrastructure improvements in our downtown area to improve not only the mobility safety for all modes of transportation, but also for aesthetics, right? Like the look,
nice.
the look
Yeah,
and
the look,
feel,
the look.
right?
Hey, bud, they want to take my sidewalk off?
He's messing with you, man. He's messing with you. But so those are those first projects. I think that also, we need to continue to stay the course with the transition to local control of the schools. There are other capital infrastructure projects in our pipeline that we need to continue to stay the course and make those investments. investing in ourselves for the public. There's a big, the public might not even care about this, but it's important, is, we're transitioning, not transitioning, but we're in procurement right now, looking for a new operator to manage our sewer contract. Our sewer contract to operate the sewer system expired 20 years. And so we've been spending the last 2 years working with consultants, developing the RFP. We're currently reviewing operators that we can, essentially pick as the most advantageous to operate, not just operate the sewer system, but in a way that's going to really take advantage of who we are as a green community. The city of Holyoke, and this is probably one of your questions, but we were the first planned industrial city in the United States. Yes. And it was intentionally built in a way to help keep energy costs low for the industries of that time. So we were the paper city of the world. We produced more paper, and we had other industries that came here and moved here because of our infrastructure, the canal system, our green energy. Green wasn't even a thing at that time, but we were already doing
ahead
it.
of our time. Estamos adelantados.
So those very assets that attracted those industries of that time are the very assets that are attractive for industries of the future, and that's the clean tech industry. So, when you talk about what we're doing to help bring economic development and jobs, expand our tax base, there's a company, Sublime Systems. The federal and state government both invested into this company that a group of scientists figured out how to, apparently the process of making cement, and we need cement, right? Streets, sidewalks, buildings, right? Foundations.
Los pajos, que me tienen loco la gente con los pajos.
Don't start. Apparently, it's responsible for 8% of the CO2s in the atmosphere in the world. So it's the process of making cement is dirty. 8% of the carbon that's in our atmosphere. These scientists figured out how to make it carbon-free, how to make cement carbon-free. And they're building their first factory here in the city of Holyoke that's going to bring more than 70 jobs, going to expand our tax base. And
that was my next question.
I know, I think it was one of your questions. But what I'm saying is like the very reasons that built this city and make it great are the same reasons we're using today to rebuild this city and continue to make it great. You know what I mean? So the thing that, and the average people don't really think about this, but like the fact that you live here, that we're self-sustaining, we own and manage and control our own water supply. We own and control and manage our own electric grid. The city of Springfield, they depend on Eversource. We don't depend on Eversource. We have the Holyoke Gas and Electric.
Se está partiendo todo el mundo, papi. Esos billes, yo vi una tipa un bill de 45,000 pesos de luz. Yo dije, diablo, ¿qué pasó aquí?
Well, so here locally,
45,000 in light.
We're talking about the schools, local control. We locally control our own rates through elected. The mayor appoints the commissioners of the Holyoke Gas and Electric.
Dile que la bajen más.
Well, we got to keep up with the expenses too. But that's the thing, like our organization doesn't need profits. Right? Companies like Eversource are for profit. So, So, and then, obviously they got payroll and their own expenses, liability, overhead, whatever they got to pay for to keep services operating for the people. But anyways, the gas and electric, the canals, the dam that we have, that we own in the Connecticut River, those are the assets that make us competitive with other surrounding communities, with Chicopee, with Springfield. Our little city of 38,000 people compete with the third largest city of Massachusetts. And it's largely because of, not just because of our geographical position, our accessibility, our access to workforce, our education network, but because we have the cheapest energy in the Northeast of the United States because of the gas and electric. That's what's going to help us attract more businesses, bring more jobs, expand our tax base so that we can keep up with the important services for the people, keep making those investments, but also maintain a decent tax rate for the property owners.
Ahí me contestaste como 3 preguntas, porque Una decía
I
que...
told you this was going to be boring.
No, te lo estás viendo.
I hope I'm not
Yo estoy
complicated.
aprendiendo aquí. Una era cómo piensa traer más negocio y empleo a Holyoke. Ya veo que con esa compañía de cemento piensa traer más empleo para acá.
And that's just one example of a handful of other examples of other companies that moved here because of our cheap energy.
También te iba a preguntar en educación, ¿qué planes tiene para mejorar las escuelas públicas? Ya me dijiste que le metiste más de 130 millones en las escuelas, so me contestaste esa. ¿Qué proyecto tiene para mejorar la infraestructura y los servicios de la ciudad? También me la contestaste con que van a arreglar los canales, que están buscando gente para arreglarla. Pero, ¿cuándo va a arreglar el traqueteo de que se ahoga ese puentecito? Que eso la gente sigue jodiendo con
Which one? The one on Main Street or Cabot Street?
El Cabot Street, que siempre, yo desde que llego en Hollywood siempre eso ha pasado ahí. Desde que el Wonder Bread estaba ahí. Pero, ¿cómo se arregla eso? ¿Qué es el problema con eso?
Well, right now we're, and this is just conversation, it's not official. So Pioneer Valley Railroad owns that because that's a train track.
Okay.
But the track doesn't lead to anywhere, right? It stops at Heritage Park. And right next to the police station, we're building 88 units of housing, which is another important priority in the administration, by the way. We're on track to have been able to develop a combination of units that have already been done and units that are in the pipeline of being done. 600 new housing units in the city of Holyoke, and we want to do more. We want to stay on track with the governors.
¿Para quiénes son esos apartamentos que están haciendo?
That
¿Y cómo tú aplicas? Porque me va a preguntar, mira, ¿cómo tú aplicas para esos apartamentos? Ya tengo gente que me ha
on the
preguntado.
website.
¿Ah?
There's a website, there's a link, you apply, and they do a lottery. It is income restricted, though, for people who are 55 and older.
So, de 55 para arriba, ¿ya pueden aplicar o no?
Yeah.
Pueden aplicar.
But because they're going to do a lottery.
Solo que van a coger random. Ok.
Yeah.
So, ya eso está ready para aplicar.
Yeah, there's a link.
So, mi gente, vamos a ponerle la información cuando hay una información aquí para que la gente pueda aplicar.
So right next to that building is the train track, next to the canals.
Y el cuartel de la policía que está en vino de seguridad cabrona.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they're going to have a nice access to the Fiesta Patronales area too.
Ya lo sé.
But so they're talking about potential, like working with Pioneer Valley Railroad to discontinue. Because if we discontinue that, then we can take out that bridge.
Sí, que no hace falta ahí.
But it's discussion phase because maybe Pioneer Valley doesn't want to, right? Like, we don't know what's going to happen.
Ya. Esa es una de las soluciones. ¿Cómo hará para que la comunidad tenga más voz en las decisiones del gobierno local?
More votes?
¿Cómo tú harás que... no voz, ¿cómo que hará que tenga más votos? Que la comunidad como se conecte más con lo que está pasando en la ciudad, como decir yo, I could say something about it, you know what I mean?
So we have a lot of good people that is involved in government, working hard for the people that anybody can always connect with and figure out ways to get involved. Whether if it's coming to a city council meeting where important decisions are made, reaching out to my office and see about, hey, how can I get involved? Maybe it's an initiative we're working on where I say, hey, I need you to help me organize this neighborhood or whatever. Or maybe it's just coming to a neighborhood meeting to voice your concerns, your perspectives, volunteer for local organizations we got a lot of organizations doing incredible work in all sorts of issues. That's a good way to get involved with the city, and it helps engage, because once you start, it's just like in Puerto Rico, right? Like, people back on the island pay attention, and when you pay attention, people are getting involved. They're having conversations. They're voting. They're running for public positions, right?
Yes.
So here as a community, we need to figure out, and this is what you've been doing, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
How do you establish that connection here so people can have that same gana, that same...
Hacérselo. Y eso es lo que nosotros llamamos en nuestro equipo de trabajo, de que cuando el boricua llega acá, o el latino, ¿verdad? Llega acá, él no sabe español, no sabe inglés, lo que sabe español.
It's discouraging.
Entonces, no hay plataforma que le digan.
You can watch them online in English and Spanish. They're live translated.
Translate en español.
Yeah, so you can watch
Pero
ellos
no saben eso. Una plataforma, como yo le digo, mira, métase al live, del City Council, que lo están haciendo en español, translator, porque la comunidad, y hay gente que llevan aquí años y nunca aprenden inglés. ¿Sabes? Que dice, no, fíjate de eso, yo soy boricua, va. Pero a esa gente nosotros le llevamos el mensaje. Mira, papi, tienes que votar ahí. Yeah. Mira, tienes que registrarte para que vote allá. Registra a votar, porque es importante votar para que estas decisiones locales.
And this summer, you know, we're going to be actively campaigning, and there's ways to get involved even on the campaign.
Yep.
And a lot of people, that's usually their first time. There's a lot of people that will get involved in a campaign, somebody running for city council and they help them, or somebody running for mayor and they help them.
Yeah.
And that's their first time. Like, wow, they start meeting everybody. They start connecting. And then they're like, oh my God, I want to run for city council. Or,
y
hey,
nos motiva, ¿no? Y yo he visto mucho hispanos.
you included.
Tranquilo. Pero yo he visto, ¿verdad? Sí, yo quiero ser, yo soy un líder de mi comunidad. Yo quiero estar a community advocate, ¿ves? Que yo elegirlo por mi comunidad y mantenerme en esa línea ahí, ¿verdad? Porque yo soy Puerto Rican, papi, yo no voy para ningún lado. Yo tengo un pride de comunidad y de donde vengo y para donde voy, que ese es el enfoque mío ahora mismo. Pero, Joshua, seguimos en ti. ¿Qué le diría a quien todavía no están seguros de votar por usted?
Look, wherever people stand, there's people who are unsure if whether or not they want to vote for me. There's even people who believe it or not, there are people who don't like me.
Absolutely. I believe it.
One way or another, the most important thing is I want people just votes. Doesn't matter. Like, if you're going to if you don't vote, that's fine. Just go vote. Because we need those numbers in our city as far as resources from state and the federal government. Like, there's power in the voter turnout.
¿Cuánta gente votaron en Hollywood?
I don't have the numbers, but it's low. I want to say it was like 20% of the voter turnout. Of voter turnout, 20% of the total registered voters, and that's low. And sometimes it's even much lower. Some years, and we need to get those numbers up because the numbers influence attention, resources, and all that other stuff. But what do I say to people that are not sure about voting for me? You know, I can say, like, you know, the values that we bring to the table to look out for people that are, no matter who you are or where you live or what circumstance you're in, the Garcia administration and the people that work with me, our focus is meeting at people where they are and helping them build. And if that's something you believe in, I hope that I can gain your trust and support. That in support of the idea of continuing to try to do that, because the reality is, I'm not going to be the one that's going to change the community. Like, the mayor doesn't change the community; the people changes the community. A lot of people look at the mayor and say, "Mayor, this is bad. What are you going to do about it?" Mayor, and my response is always, no. What are you going to do about it? If there's any message that I can put out there in the community is we need to start holding each other accountable. Like, people need to start demanding the respect that they want for their neighborhoods, and also work together with your neighbors. A lot of times, you know, I see people make mistakes and we shut them out of society. And if we're going to be that community, we're never going to figure it out and grow, considering the circumstances we have in our city. As long as you're willing to learn from your mistake, then we need to figure out how to give a hand up, keep working together, hold each other accountable, so that we're building our community. The only thing I can do is help facilitate that. And that's my commitment to this
y ser
community.
Transparente. Yo creo que tú eres un alcalde que eres transparente y trae lo que es fair a todo el mundo. Yo creo que esta ciudad no era fair.
I don't want to be like, I try to be careful in answering this question because I know I'm a politician because I'm elected mayor, but I hate politics and people might not believe that. But, like, I'm a manager of resources. I'm a manager of people, and I know how to facilitate differences and working together. That's my skill set. I don't want to sit here and say, you know what, I want you to vote. Like, I want you to, trust me that I'm going to make your life better. You know what I mean? Or we're going to make your neighborhood safer. We're going to work on those things. We're going to do them together.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want you to just think that I'm going to go and save the world. I don't want to be a fake politician that's going to sell you a lie. But instead, give you assurance that we're going to work on this together. Not just me and you, but you and your neighbors. We're going to hold each other accountable. And you can always count on me to be transparent with you and honest with you, good or bad, so that you get the resources and the attention you need to help make your experience here in Holyoke a good one. That's my commitment to the city of this community. And if you believe in that, then vote for Joshua Garcia.
Mira, lo que yo a García le digo, yo le voy a decir de mi punto de vista. Yo conozco a Joshua García no como el político, antes que cogiera para política, ¿verdad? Y la gente no sabe que Joshua García, antes que existiera AI, ahora AI, ya I don't need you anymore. AI help me out. Pero antes que no existiera AI, ¿verdad? Mi inglés no es bueno, ¿sabes? Y antes que Joshua fuera alcalde, Joshua me ayudaba a mí con los problemas de la ciudad. Mira, Juan, es que escríbele un email. Siempre manda un email, pero el email mantiene récord de todo lo que está pasando, ¿sabes? Y a veces me escribía las cosas y yo le estaba copy and paste y yo le enviaba el email, ¿tú entiendes? Porque no sabía poner las palabras. Soy Joshua una persona que a mí me ha ayudado antes de ser un alcalde, ¿tú entiendes? Como amigo, mira, en los problemas que él veía que estaban pasando, ¿tú me entiendes? Él es un fair guy. Mucha gente dice, no, pero que ese, perdón la palabra, ese cabrón allá me botó de housing, Joshua hizo aquello. Yo decía, papi, pero es que Joshua es una persona que él es, no importa, mucha gente, no, que él es boricua. No, porque él es boricua, no quiere decir que él va a virar las reglas a los boricuas, pa. Él es boricua, pero él va a asegurarse que si tú eres boricua o tú eres lo que sea, papi, no importa la casa tuya. Si es fair, va a pasar. Si no es fair, él no va a romper la regla porque tú eres boricua o tienes que ayudarme a mí, papi.
But I can tell you, sometimes the system can be taken advantage of by the people in power.
Y lo han hecho.
If I find out, that's another thing too, is my expectation of city departments is to enforce the laws consistently to everybody. Sí. And don't do more than what the law says. And if I find out that we're, that's not happening, then we're holding departments accountable. So I do step in and make sure that if departments are doing their job, then you got to take responsibility and hold yourself accountable.
¿A quién tú has dicho, you know what? You don't have to mention that, but have you said, you know what, like Trump, you're fired? Have you done that?
No comment.
That's part of management. I mean, I fire people all the time in my business. If you don't do the right job, si no hacen el trabajo que es, yo los voto. Y el trabajo del alcalde es manejar la ciudad.
There are times we had to make tough decisions.
¿Verdad? Eso es tu
and
trabajo.
It's all in the best interest. And, sometimes somebody might not agree with it. And we take into consideration everything. I look at the whole picture.
Pero es tu trabajo.
But at some point, decisions got to be made.
De coger gente, votar gente, ese es tu trabajo. Tú te encargas de que el budget esté bien, que no estén abusando.
Well, the people in charge are the public. The public, every quarter, is paying taxes. You're giving up money to the local government. And I need to make sure that people feel good about that, right? It's not
¿Cómo
easy.
le bajas los tases? ¿Cómo tú le bajas los tases a la gente?
Man, that's a whole nother... You got another hour?
Yo tengo la... Papi, las tías mías me llaman, mira, pero habla que bajen los taxis. Yo no sé cómo se va.
I found out what's driving that, but I don't know how much time we got left.
Pero es un proceso que se puede hacer.
Our budget process is very open and transparent. And we go line by line, and the public can see firsthand how their money is being invested. There's nothing secretive about it.
Todo transparente, está ahí.
It's all transparent.
¿Tú te metes al website? What do you go? You go to a website, or ¿cómo tú haces esa información?
Yeah, so I do have a what do you call that? An email, a newsletter that I send out regularly, updating people here where we are in the process. But when I present my budget to the city council, this is when it's open and public. When I present the budget to the city council has what they call public hearings, where the public can go and listen.
Y hablar y todo eso.
And people say a lot of things with city council, but I like my council. Like they do a lot of I do.
Now you're playing politics.
100% of my, well, 99% of my council, with the exception to one guy, is
Es entertaining. Te digo, a veces yo me meto, and it's crazy porque a veces yo me meto a YouTube a ver otras cosas, pero sometimes I just go to the city council just to see cómo se activan y se jean.
But you know what? There's passion in there. There's
Yes.
people who love this city and they do their due diligence. And you know what? I'm one mayor. Like, I can make mistakes, right? Like, and government is designed so that no one person's in total power control, and everything always leads to the people. And so I was elected by the people to manage the executive side, right? The legislative side, there's 13 councilors elected by the people in every corner of the city, ideally. And both sides, I don't control them. They don't control me. We got to work together. And in our budget process, the city council, I got to say, they do a good job scrutinizing every line. Sometimes too good of a job where it makes my job a little trickier. But people got to pay attention because listen, if you want me to cut taxes, I can do that like that. But you're going to feel it. Like, a lot of people think,
Who's going to feel it? The business people or
the public. Trash has to be picked up. Police services got fire services, roads. Like, if I cut it's for every $600,000 is 5% of the budget, right? So if I cut 600,000, your tax is reduced by 5%. So in order for me to make a significant cut, like not just not 5%, 0.5%. So if I was to make a significant, like a 3%, like think about that, right? That's like a couple $1 million. And the reality is a lot of people think there's this thought or illusion that like we're, just take the $3 million away from the police department. Okay, fine. I can do that. But you're going to feel it, right? It could be a late response. It could be laying off officers. We have cops. We have people that do outreach into the neighborhoods. We have people that do elderly services. We have officers that work in the schools. Then all of a sudden they don't see those anymore. And then people start saying, how come there's this? What do I pay taxes for? You can only cut so much before you start feeling it somewhere.
the need,
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we need services. So the tough job for the mayor and the city council is, where's that balance? How do we provide enough, but also keep a decent tax rate? It might not be the lowest tax rate, but a decent one. I did find out some avenues that I'm exploring, maybe potentially make a good impact. And again, I don't think we have much time to explain this, but if you're talking about people understanding, there's one, I'm not even going to mention it. There's about 3 things that are controlling the cost increases in the budget, and one of them, I believe we might be able to explore scaling back on to potentially
That's the one
reduce
that
the
was
tax rate.
they're saving some money so we could sustain. And we are like at a high percent. I heard we're like at a high percent more than Springfield. We're like
There was an unfunded mandate by the state for cities and towns across Massachusetts to fully fund retirement. This started a long time ago. We got an aggressive schedule, and currently our retirement is about 84%. By 2032, we should be fully funded. So there's $8 million. So retirement, we spend like $12 million in the budget, but 3 or 4 million of that is we have to pay. Like, there's no quite, like, you got to pay. You got to 8 million of that is like extra to be on the schedule.
to save.
Yeah, to save, to fully fund.
So ya que le den 2 y que guarden 6, que bajen a 2 para que así le bajen los taxes a la gente.
I don't want to cut the whole thing.
Cut the whole, even better.
Not the whole thing, the whole 8 million.
Por un tiempo, ¿verdad? Para que le bajen las tasas a la gente.
A little bit of break.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not, what's driving the taxes is not DPW. They're underfunded. It's not the police. I know there's a lot of divide for good reason. I hear both sides of the argument when it comes to concerns about policing. But I've been, by the way, the new chief we got has some ideas, and I'm so excited. Another conversation, another day. But the answer isn't there. A lot of people think it's not there. It's not the fire department. It's not these little departments. Those are pennies compared to
No,
this
pero si
bigger
tú haces
issue.
esa movida ahí, pero ahí va a ser esto, eso va a ser un event ahí en el City Council, papi, para pasar eso, para que, or can you cut that? And you say, you know what, I'm gonna stop that.
Well, I got to work together with the retirement board. Like, they need to be on board. I can't just do it. Like, I need, there's checks and
I
balances.
think you should do it. I think the people
Transportation,
need it, yeah.
our transportation budget for the schools is more than the fire department. The transportation budget is over $11 million. And there might be opportunity there to scale back. But if I do that, there's going to be people saying...
Yo caminaba desde la Chestnut hasta la Lynch. I used to walk and come back con nevada y todo, porque back then no cancelaban así.
Parents want those buses. We had an issue at Lyman Terrace one summer, when we had to enforce the 2-mile policy. And when we cut the bus from going to Lyman Terrace, kids from Lyman Terrace going to Kelly School. That's not
That's not bad. That's nothing.
But, but to a parent who might be a single mother,
Yeah.
who might be struggling with health issues,
Facts.
The challenge is there and your heart breaks, you know what I mean? But that's what I mean. Like, if we want to cut this budget, the community's got to get serious.
No, pero deja la escuela, déjalo eso tranquilo. Tranquilo.
Right?
A los 8 millones de eso, vamos a darle un break, que la gente le bajen los taxes, que las cosas para estar mal ahora mismo, lo que caemos en tiempo otra vez.
Health insurance is driving the budget, and the Student Opportunity Act for the schools is driving. Those are the biggest tickets that are squeezing the taxpayers. It's not an extra position in the Board of Health. It's not, all our departments are severely underfunded.
Antes de irme, tengo que hacerte esta pregunta, Yocho García. ¿Qué va a pasar con la juca en Hollywood? Y esa pregunta no te la hago yo, esta me la hace el pueblo de Hollywood. ¿Qué va a pasar con la juca de Hollywood? ¿Los negocios van a poder meter juca en Hollywood o no van a poder
We're
meter
working
juca
on
en
it. Right now, the legal department is currently evaluating the Springfield model. And we're going to reconvene and work together with the Board of Health, because the Board of Health controls that law, not the mayor.
Yeah.
Or the city council or anybody.
Pero tú controlas el Board of Health. Tú eres el jefe del Board of Health.
So I appoint members of the Board of Health.
Okay.
Yes, that's the politics side. Really, it comes down to the matter of policy, but I like to work together. I don't like, if I have to be forceful, I can, you know what? You're going to support this or I'm taking you off the board. And in some level, we're kind of having those conversations because, this is...
We need it. I think Hollywood is dope. I think Hollywood is moving for the better.
The trick in my strategy is this. We're going to work together with our Board of Health to evaluate and understand what the impact is, both positively and negatively. And we're going to roll it out in a safe way. We don't want to just open up the floodgates.
Yeah. We don't want to do that.
Yeah, I don't want to do this irresponsibly because there is a negative effect with tobacco, potential impact to youth. We need business owners to also learn this together, because if this is going on 21 over establishments, we're really serious about managing that.
The rule, yeah. It's like marijuana. If you're trying to go open consumption, you're trying to have consumption license.
We're also exploring
there's stuff that we need to evolve as a city, you know what I mean? Because all this stuff is coming.
So we're working together to evaluate it and roll it out responsibly. That's the trick. If, the last thing I want to do is get political about it. If I have to, I will. But I think that there's appetite there to work together and figure it out together. So we're doing it responsibly. That's the name of the game. The only thing that we need is patience, because it's not, government is slow, unfortunately, but we're moving in that direction and we'll see where it lands.
Bueno, mi gente, esta ha sido todo de la entrevista, la primera entrevista de Hablando Claro con Montana la Antifeca. Yocho García, en verdad te lo agradezco un montón por venir aquí, sacarle tu tiempo, en verdad, y compartir con nosotros. Y nada, mi gente, espero que le agradezca, que sea de su agrado esta entrevista y vienen más para que se mantengan informados de lo que está pasando en nuestra bella ciudad de Hollywood. Y nos fuimos, mi gente. The real heroes. Hollywood's best. Papi, estamos cerrando los, apagando, gelando los hoyos.